Okay.
Welcome to Something to Talk About from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. We get together several times a week on Zoom and sometimes also in person to talk about all kinds of topics. Today, we're going to be talking about the bond issue that is coming up for a vote in August about the pool, Ray Williamson Pool, and Michelle Miller from the Park District is with us. We'll talk to her in just a second. I want to acknowledge, though, that we are meeting on the ancestral homelands of the Suquamish people, the people of the clear salt water, who have been living on these lands and plying these waters since time immemorial. We honor them and we are grateful to learn from them about stewardship of these lands and waters. I also want to thank Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island, which is a sponsor of Something to Talk About. Fieldstone has assisted in independent living and memory care, a lovely campus up on tranquil Rolling Bay. Rolling Bay is not always tranquil, but the campus is. And you can find out about their day stay and respite care programs by calling 206 594 1010. Ask for Celia or Jamie, or check out their website at fieldstonecommunities.com. Michelle, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today.
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Michelle Miller. I'm the procurement manager at the Bainbridge Island Park District, and I am a longtime resident of Bainbridge Island. I grew up here. We moved here in 1990. I graduated from Bainbridge High School, so love it. And it's one of my favorite places in the whole wide world. So I'm
So
really happy to be
you've
here.
spent some time in the Williamson Pool.
Yes, I learned how to swim there. So
So you know its ups and downs over the years, and I know there's
yes.
been efforts to, well, we expanded the pool many years ago with an adjoining pool that's for different purposes actually,
Mhm.
and there's been efforts to try to figure out how to keep that pool operating uh, for everybody for a while. So this is going to be very interesting to us to learn about the current bond proposal.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint that we put together for you all with kind of a good overview of all that you just mentioned, Reed, and getting into where we're at now and what's coming up on the ballot.
Thank you.
Okay, can you see the right screen this time, Reed?
Yes.
Yay! All right, so welcome to the Ray Williamson Pool informational meeting. There's going to be 2 meetings for the public tonight at 6:30 and then on July 17th at 6:30, both at the pool. But thanks for coming and zooming in with us today. Like I said, the bond measure's on the August 6th ballot, and this is just a conceptual sketch of what the potential improvements could look like. Nothing official. Usually we have a giant project team that will be at the informational meetings, but I am lucky enough that I get to speak on all of their behalf tonight and represent them all. So like I said, I'm Michelle Miller, the procurement manager, and I helped put together the bid package for going out to bid for the phase 1 project, which we'll get into in a little bit. So before we completely get into all the details, I'm going to show you an outline of what will be shared. All right. So as you can see from our agenda, we will explain the Park District's commitment to renovate the Ray Williamson Pool and the history of examining increased aquatic capacity options, provide an update on phase 1 of the renovation project, go over the options for phase 2 of the renovation project, explain the bond measure proposal by the Park District, introduce the approach the district will take to pool closure management, like how will it affect the district staff, programs, and users. And then we're going to finish with a question and answer session. So if you think of any questions, if you can jot them down or remember them, and we'll have a long session at the end where you can ask any questions, that would be great. So with that being said, let's begin. So as we were just talking, the Ray Williamson Pool was built in 1970. That makes it 54 years old. The district has been actively pursuing options to address the aging infrastructure looking to increase capacity and improve function for current and future uses. 3 studies have been conducted since 2017, presenting options for renovation or replacement. Costs for replacement were at least $30 million in 2019, and inflation would make that much higher today. So the pandemic kind of paused everything. And then our most recent study on renovation provides us with the ability to rehab the pool for under $6 million, but would not include increased capacity or improved function. In December 2023, the district was asked to consider expansion options during the major rehabilitation. While it was determined to be a feasible and fiscally responsible solution to increase capacity and improve function, the added cost is beyond existing district financial resources. Due to the high winter water table, the project has been split into 2 phases, with phase 1 currently under contract. The proposed bond measure on the August 6th ballot allows the community to decide on the scope and funding plan of phase 2, while the district moves forward with the first phase. Before we get into phase 1 project update, I just wanted to introduce you all or give a little background information regarding Stemper Architectural Collaborative, with whom we have been working with on this project. The firm has over 35 years of experience in the comprehensive architecture services, 95% of which are with public agencies like us. They also have completed many public pool projects, including the seven of the pools with Seattle Parks and Rec. And then they also did the Des Moines Pool Metro Parks master plan. They've been an integral asset to our team, and we have worked intimately with them in preparation for this project. They've created extensive engineered plans and provided invaluable input on our project manual. It was determined that phase 1, which would include critical items like HVAC, electrical, and roof, would cost in the range of $3.5 million, and that requires the district to use formal competitive bidding. We worked extensively with our internal team, Stemper, and the Bainbridge Island School District to develop some supplemental bidder qualifications, necessary experience, and other requirements. So the formal invitation to bid for phase 1 was posted on April 25th. We received a bid for $3,344,690.08 from FPH Construction, which was within the engineered cost estimate and included all required supplemental items. That gave us great confidence in our consultants' ability to give us accurate estimates. We moved forward and performed reference checks, required past project reviews, and interviewed the team, and the board officially awarded the bid to FPH at the June 6th board meeting. It is important to note that in our interview process with FPH, we relayed to them our commitment to minimize the pool closure. We are working with FPH to get a construction schedule as soon as possible to be officially updated on the project webpage and shared in detail at the next planned bond information session on July 17th. I can also give you an update on the permitting. We anticipate the phase 1 permit to be in hand this week, which we're really excited about. The city permit allows us for amendment for the final phase 2 scope of work, which means that we can wait and see what the results of the bond are before we move forward with the rest of that. The State Department of Health issued approval of phase 1 regarding pool safety issues, allowing us to proceed. And then, like I just mentioned, phase 2 plans are paused at 90% of design, ready to move forward depending on results of the bond measure on August 6th. So let's talk about phase 2 and the bond now. The results of the bond measure determine how the district moves forward with phase 2. The differences are how the project will be funded and the scope of the improvements. If the bond does not receive at least 60% support on August 6th, phase 2A completes all of the system upgrades, but keeps the same configuration of 6 lanes, renews the pool, and fixes the drain. The $5.8 million cost estimate would be funded by district reserves, fundraising, and loans. If the bond does receive at least 60% support on August 6th, Phase 2B would complete all of the system upgrades, as well as expand the pool to 8 lanes, increase capacity, and improve pool depth to better serve current and future needs. The $11 to $12 million cost estimate would be funded primarily by the bond, plus some district reserves and fundraising. It would eliminate the need for a loan and that commitment to the 15 years paying off the loan. Okay. This slide will also be up at the end of our presentation during question and answer, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit now, and then we'll make sure it stays up at the end. So regardless of the results of the bond measure, the required updates will be completed either way. As you can see on line 1 up there under the description. The differences between the two plans are that if the bond passes, it will increase capacity and improve user safety. The funding plan for the original project 2A will be a combination of district reserves, fundraising, grants, and loans, committing the district to extended loan payments for a minimum of 15 years. The funding plan for the expansion project 2B is only possible with the bond measure, which would eliminate the need for a loan. The anticipated use of district reserves and fundraising would be less, and then fundraising in either scenario would further reduce the impact on district resources. So we're going to pause and kind of show you an example of what the differences would look like in the current configuration. So this first graphic shows the existing configuration of Ray Williamson Pool. The configuration would remain the same in option 2A. This next graphic shows a conceptual image of the expanded pool with an even 6.5-foot depth throughout, increasing capacity and improving user safety. The configuration would change to this layout in option 2B. Let's take a closer look at the side view of the with the depth if we went with the 2B option if the bond passes. So you can see the there's even depth in option 2B in these concept sketches. Okay. So as you can see in the two graphics displayed, the possibility of an expanded swimming pool will change the structure of deck space available. Deck space needs are varied due to the different programs and user groups that we run in the pool. With the removal of the storage rooms closure to the Nakata pool, the available deck space stays at around 4,200 square feet. It's just configured differently. With creative placement of bleachers and the availability of retractable sliding glass doors and an outdoor space, our analysis shows that we would be able to flex the deck space to run events at our current capacity. A little bit more about the bond proposal. Basically, I think what you all want to know is what will the estimated bond cost to homeowners be? So if passed, the bond measure would complete all phase 1 upgrades to architectural, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and safety systems, replace pool shell and underlying plumbing, expand the existing pool, adding 2 additional swim lanes, and create a consistent depth to increase safety and meet user needs. We estimate that the bond tax would be at a rate of 6 cents per $1,000 of assessed property value, which would mean that if you owned $1 million home, you would estimate it to be paying about $60 extra per year or $5 extra a month. And what would happen if the proposed bond measure does not pass? The pool would be renovated at its current 6-lane configuration. So the following slides will show conceptually what the expanded pool could look like. This view is looking south from the west side of the pool deck towards the starting blocks. This image is again looking south towards the starting blocks. This image is on the east side of the pool deck and shows the potential for opening windows for spectator viewing areas outside the pool. This graphic shows the possible exterior spectator space. Inside the pool, on the north side, retractable bleachers could be installed for indoor spectator space during an event. This graphic, looking northeast, shows the potential bleacher space with the retractable bleachers being collapsed to free up deck space when seating isn't needed. Another topic of conversation, the closures and programming. The availability of programming during construction relies heavily on the timeline given to us by our contractor and a variety of different conditions. To the best of our ability and control, we are committed to minimal closure time and impact to the community of swimmers and user groups that currently use our site. All efforts are being exhausted to come up with contingency plans and options during our closure. While more details will be shared when we have an established timeline, it is our current understanding that the contractor will start work this summer or fall, but try to push back any required pool closure until the very end of the year or potentially even early next year. And then if you would like to take a look at our frequently asked questions page, you can scan this with your phone camera. It's also just on our website under the current projects section of our website. And then this was kind of guided towards our meeting tonight, so I apologize. We don't have our June 17th at 6:30 p.m. meeting time up there, but we do have a meeting tonight at Nakata at 6:30. And then our next public meeting will be July 17th at 6:30.
And if you're watching this, after this video is done, I'll put a link to the FAQs in the little description area on YouTube. So just look below.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this the one slide I said about the comparison of the bond measure passage and failure up, just so everyone can look at it a little longer if they would like. And then if anyone has any questions, we'll do our best to answer those. If not, we'll write them down and do our best to get those answers for you as soon as we can.
Okay, if there's someone who has a question, you can just turn on your microphone and ask it. Francis.
Well, I'm new to Bainbridge Island. Where is the pool?
The pool is off of Madison Avenue. Do you know where the Safeway is in downtown? It's right north. If you go north through the roundabout, it's right along Madison Avenue next to Ordway.
It's on property that you lease long-term from the school district. Is that right, Michelle?
Yeah, I'd have to check into the lease part. I do know we share it.
Which is what?
So it's co-located with both the very close to Ordway and to the district offices.
Yes.
Right there. If you've ever dropped a ballot box off, a ballot in the ballot box, you've driven through the parking lot for the aquatic center.
So if it's, who has priority for use? I'd only heard that there was a pool for the high school.
So we actually have two pools. And so there will always be one open during this whole project.
So there are two adjoining pools, Francis. One of them is this lap pool that we're talking about, the Ray Williamson, and then there's another pool right beside it called the Nakata pool, which is that right?
Yes.
And that is the pool that would probably be, they wouldn't need to close that.
Yes,
Okay.
there'll always be one. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, doesn't, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So is there a priority use? In other words, do school programs get priority to use it, or do they only use the Dakota one? I'm just trying to figure out who uses the pool and why. Is it open to the public? Is it primarily group, some sort of group organizations or, swim organizations, or and is there a fee for use?
Yes, so the public uses both pools. We do have use agreements with the high school swim teams. We have our own swim team and a master's team. We also do programming for children and adults for swim lessons, adult group exercise classes, lap swimming. Those happen in both pools depending on the time of year and the time of day. And Jeanette, who is our aquatic program administrator, has a bunch of very creative ideas on how to make sure that we don't lose any of those activities when one of the pools is closed down during this renovation project.
Currently, is there a fee for the public to use it? I mean, is there times where individuals can go and use the pool?
Yes, you can use the pool for a fee.
Okay, and does that fee cover what percentage of the cost of maintaining the pool does that fee cover? Do you know? That might be a question you can answer.
That's something that we would probably need to get back to you guys on. Unless Dan, do you want
It looks like
Yeah.
Dan Hamlin, who is the head of the park department right now, is our
Executive
guy.
director.
Yes, sorry, I was trying to mess with my screen there. Both pools are open to the public. There are fees to use them. We try to keep them as low as possible. It's important to note, when working on a pool and funding for a pool, that pools carry a subsidy. Any public pool, it costs to keep the doors open. So your question was remind me what your question was. I was messing with my screen trying to get unmuted.
I was just trying to find out, and I understand it's a tough question to try to answer today, of what percentage the fees, any fees, any income accumulated through use of the pool, what percentage that covers of the actual cost of maintaining the pool?
Currently in our current projected budget, it's right at about 59%. It covers 59% of the operation of the pool. We historically have been in about the 65% range, and we're looking at ways to get back into that without impacting user fees as much. We're looking at solar options and other energy efficient ways to operate the pool, which part of this project will be helping us with.
That was my next question, the energy cost, or how if you were considering solar or if it's already available. I'm sorry, my mind went blank. Go ahead, let someone else ask a question.
Okay, I'm wondering about you have a third pool, right, that is available in the summertime at the Bainbridge Island Recreation Center. How does that sort of figure in the usage and pressure on public pools on Bainbridge?
The Bainbridge Island Rec Center's pool is an outdoor pool, as you noted. It is also shorter. It was built intentionally so that teams couldn't go in and request to use it. That was one of the things we were told when we purchased it. So it's just a little bit shorter than the Ray. We're looking at ways to utilize it during closure. We have no answers today about how we may or may not use it. But it is a membership-based facility. You can pay for day use, just like at the aquatic center. But any further established use of it for displaced swimmers from this project really needs to be vetted, and we're gonna have that discussion at our board meeting, this Thursday, actually. Just kind of start sharing what we think, how it will impact the actual members here at the rec center and parking and all of those types of needs that we have to address.
Okay, another question I have is about, I noted that in both of the 2A and 2B, in addition to other forms of funding, Michelle, you mentioned fundraising. Can you describe what you're hoping to get in terms of fundraising, where it might come? Would that be through the Parks Foundation? How much of that money do you hope will be able to help out? I see there's a 500K listed under if the bond measure passes.
That came from a document we received from the PRO committee, the committee that's actually working to pass the bond. That's where that number came from.
Okay, and I think Joy might be on from the PRO committee. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, let's see. I don't know. We'll find out more about that later, I guess. And then the other question I had was about the flex space. It looks like you're looking to have essentially the same amount of around the pool space when you're done with with the bond, if the bond measure passes 2B, phase 2B. And I guess that gets us to the question to be or not to be, but is that outside flexible? Is the outside space part of that flexible space?
Yes. Yes, that we would have the windows that would open to allow people to see more clearly and utilize that space either with some kind of tent coverings or maybe even a more permanent covering in the future. But the space is definitely usable with tents and tent heaters, like an event tent.
Great. Yeah, Joy, I see you've now turned on your camera. Can you tell us a little bit about the fundraising aspects of these budgets?
Well, thanks, Reed, for letting me speak. And Michelle, I wanted to say what a great job you did. That was really well done.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know that I can speak a lot to the fundraising element right now, Reed, because right now our campaign is really focused on educating the community to pass the bond. Once we've got the bond passed, then our fundraising needs to kick into high gear. But until that happens, it's really incumbent upon us to rally the community for this cause. And I see this as pretty much a one-time opportunity for the foreseeable future, certainly in my lifetime, to expand capacity at the pool in a really fiscally responsible way. This solution does not give us everything we wanted. There's a lot of people in the community who were hoping for a new pool, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And this gets us really close to what we wanted. So that's why I think this is a really great opportunity for the community.
Right. So we will find out later but that 500,000, if that estimate is your estimate right now, that is not an enormous, I mean, that's a doable number, it seems to me, in our
It
community.
seems, yeah.
As opposed to asking for a couple million.
Mhm.
Now, in looking at earlier efforts at the pool, because this issue with the Ray has been a topic maybe not as long as I've lived here, but almost. I'm wondering, one of the things that had been said earlier was that there was an effort to try to not build a pool at this same location, but build it at another location. It looks like you've done a number of studies over the years, and maybe that assessment has changed. I don't know whether Michelle or Dan, you want to speak to that.
Yeah, I can speak to that. The board, this all started back when we purchased Sakai. This was one of the options, 10 options for developing Sakai Park, most of which have happened at other locations. But there was a decision not to put a new pool at Sakai because we did not want to separate the pools from each other. It requires twice the amount of power, twice the amount of staff, twice the amount of oversight. So we wanted to keep the pool on the same site with the Nakata. The district has no plans to put a pool on a different piece of property. We would have to work with the school district to put that pool right next to the Nakata so that we can have some cost savings in sharing facilities.
And as Francis intimated, the district is one of the major users of the pool. You work really closely to try to let them take advantage, and our kids having the opportunity to learn how to swim and compete as swimmers, I think is a wonderful, wonderful thing. My daughter was a water polo player, and having them not cross back and forth over Madison is probably a wise idea. Are there any other questions from anybody who's on this call? If not, I will just ask Michelle to talk again about where you can find out more information. I know you said not only tonight, but there's a meeting coming up, you said in July, and on your website. And if you and I'm guessing that if Joy has some information as well about ways that you'll be reaching out.
I think Francis might have another question. I think you're muted, Francis.
Stop the video. How old is the other pool? The second pool?
I think Nakata was built in 2006, I believe. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah,
Is that-
2006.
It's adjacent or close to the one that you're trying to fund. I'm sorry, I'm new here and I don't
It's
know.
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Yeah, it's actually connected. There's a
yes.
big glass window that you can slide back and forth and access both.
Yeah, you walk through the Nakata to get to the Ray right now.
And the Nakata pool is configured differently. It isn't really designed for aggressive lap swimming. It's used, there's a wide variance. We were talking a little bit about the consistent depth they're talking about at the Ray. There's no consistent depth in the Nakata pool, and there's a lazy river function and so forth. It's a great place to take toddlers.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a water slide as well.
My question is, how old is that pool? Or is it going to require repair or expansion or anything in the near future?
It's over 20 years old, and we have worked on boilers and all the systems in a pool. You know, they age out at different times, and it's ongoing maintenance. We're going to have the new liner put in this year, this summer, actually fall, August. So we don't have any major concerns with this pool right now. We do have with the Ray. The Ray, we need to do something now with the Ray pool because the components have long outlived their lifespan and could fail at any time.
Well, I just want to say as an individual, I'm all for it. I think I agree with Reed talking about the importance of pool of swimming, learning to swim and using a pool like that is important. But I think especially learning to swim. As a kid, I came from Kansas and my mother was scared to death of water.
Mhm.
She didn't want us to learn to swim because she was scared of water. Anyway, I just think it's so important that we're surrounded by water. I mean, it just makes so much sense. And also, I congratulate you on offering or building in the idea of fundraising, because I think that's going to reach people like me who feel, not that I can contribute a lot, but I just feel it's important. And I think the community that, like myself, that feels and shares that belief will support your fundraising.
Thanks, that's great to hear.
Oh, Michelle,
Yeah.
was it July 17th?
Yes, so a couple ways you can get updates on the project. We have a meeting tonight at 6:30. So we kind of did the 17th and the 17th. So June 17th and July 17th, 6:30 to 8 at the Nakata Pool. There'll be public information sessions.
Great, and the FAQ is on the website, and
Yes,
I'll
so
put a
if you-
link.
Yeah, if you go to baparks.org and then you go under public info and then current projects, there's a section called Ray Williamson Pool Rehabilitation, and I'll go ahead and drop the link in the chat So there's a direct link to that.
Great. And Joy put the link in for the bond supporting group. Yes, for BI Aquatics.
Yeah, and all of our, just a note on that, all of our facts come from the parks website because, you know, that's where the facts are. But you'll also find some additional information there that might be helpful.
Okay. And so thank you very much for taking the time, especially today, because you're just trying to launch this meeting tonight. So I hope you don't mind the little dress rehearsal we did today.
Hey, we appreciate it, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Get my fumbling words out now and then.
Okay, well, have a good meeting tonight, and thank you all for your time today.
Well, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Reed.
Mhm.